Welcome back to the Deep Dive. You hand us the sources, and we give you the crucial concepts, really, the essential nuggets of knowledge, all extracted, analyzed, and hopefully ready for you to use.
Indeed. And today, we're taking a pretty substantial dive, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. We're looking into a global digital ecosystem that, well, it doesn't just promise future success, it actually asserts it's already achieved a state of victory.
Yeah, and that's the key distinction, really, in the source material we've been digging through. Our focus today is on the foundational architecture, the core vision, and the asserted global impact of this thing called the on and passive ecosystem.
Right.
And the material, it really centers around a very specific, quite powerful rallying cry. #victory with Ashmafara. Now, this phrase, it's treated as more than just marketing. It's positioned as like a definitive statement, a declaration that the old ways, the legacy tech and financial models, they've been overcome, successfully replaced by this new framework.
Okay, so our mission today feels pretty critical then. We need to get past the powerful words, the rhetoric, and really understand the engine room, the operational mechanism.
Exactly. What are the actual claims being made about this victory system under the hood? What are the benefits they're promising?
And maybe most importantly, how is the structure defined? Especially to counter the kind of skepticism that, let's be honest, often pops up around these big digital movements.
Well, the central premise, going back to Ashmafara's original vision as it's described, is that the goal wasn't short-term gain. It wasn't a quick fix.
Okay.
The idea was, apparently, to create an enduring system, one where advanced technology, specifically AI and automation, serves humanity first. That's the claim.
Serves humanity.
How, though?
Well, it's asserted to be designed specifically to empower and unite, to actively move away from what the sources call the exploitative patterns that have, defined a lot of recent digital history.
Right. The data harvesting, the lack of transparency, all that.
Precisely. Avoiding those pitfalls. So we're basically dissecting the claims today. We're hunting for those surprising structural elements. How is this asserted autonomous framework actually defined physically and digitally? How's the money side structured for the long haul?
And who exactly comes out on top? Who are the key beneficiaries in this newly claimed digital setup?
Exactly. So for you listening, we're providing that analytical shortcut.
Yeah.
We want you to understand the operational heart, the core mechanics of this claimed global movement.
Yeah.
So let's start, I think, with the battle for trust that apparently came before this victory moment.
Okay. So the sources, they're really clear that this whole #victory with Ashmafara concept, it's not just a slogan floating around. It's presented as the crystallized turning point for this community.
The inflection point.
Exactly. The moment where the vision allegedly shifted from just being a belief system, something people hoped for, into a declared reality. It signals the functional arrival of this new ecosystem.
So rhetorically speaking, it's the payoff moment for the people who kept the faith during the building phase.
That's how it's framed, yes. The reward for perseverance.
But look, any big shift involves a struggle, right? And the source material, interestingly, it doesn't seem to hide from the initial doubt. It actually acknowledges it.
It does, quite directly, in fact. They explicitly talk about the history of skepticism, the comparisons, as they put it, to predecessor models that failed.
Failed because?
Because, the sources suggest, those older models rely too much on just endless recruitment. Perpetual growth without real underlying utility to sustain it.
Ah, the classic pyramid scheme critique, basically.
That's the comparison they acknowledge was made, yes. The material is surprisingly candid about this initial questioning, both from outside and perhaps even within the early community.
Right. I mean, building a whole new complex digital ecosystem from the ground up, that sounds incredibly difficult. People must have doubted if it was even feasible.
They absolutely did, according to the sources. But the response, the one attributed directly to Ashmafara, was apparently this really firm declaration of difference, essentially. We are fundamentally unique. We are not like those others. We are here to reset the rules of engagement.
Okay, that's a classic strategy, isn't it? Acknowledge the failures elsewhere, but claim you're the exception, you're different.
It is. But the crucial next step is how they claim they overcame that skepticism. Because as you said, it can't just be inspirational language, right? It needs more.
Right. Talk is cheap.
Exactly. And the sources, they strongly assert that the answer to those doubts didn't come just from, motivational speeches or promises. It came from tangible, deployable proof.
Proof like what?
They emphasize that the definitive counter to the skepticism comes in the form of working solutions, visible platforms, and verifiable results. Real things people could see and use.
Okay, so the claim is the tech actually started working, products launched, and people could see it wasn't just vaporware.
That's the assertion. This tangible evidence, the sources claim, is what actually created the moment of victory. It wasn't just declared, it was allegedly demonstrated.
Okay, I want to dig into the mechanism itself now. You mentioned AI, automation, fairness. These were the core pillars, right? How are those abstract ideas actually, built into the architecture? How are they defined in practice?
Right, this is where we shift gears a bit, from the philosophy to the function. The sources really insist that this ecosystem isn't just like a random collection of software tools. No, it's described as a living, breathing network, an asserted autonomous framework even, made up of interconnected platforms and, interestingly, novel financial models.
Autonomous, meaning it runs itself to some degree.
That's the implication. Its fundamental identity is explicitly called a victory system, built specifically on an AI foundation. And that AI is designed for two key things: automation and critically enforced fairness.
Enforce fairness?
Yeah.
How does AI enforce fairness?
Well, the claim is that the AI manages things like resource allocation, maybe customer distribution, usage monitoring, all the stuff that keeps the system running. The idea is to ensure it's self-sustaining and impartial.
Impartial how?
By avoiding human bias or the possibility of central manipulation. That's the goal.
Interesting. So if the criticism of older models was unfair structures, instability, this new framework claims the technology itself, the AI, the automation, is the stability mechanism.
That's the core assertion.
So it's designed as a cohesive technological whole, not just a bunch of products bolted together later.
Precisely. That cohesion is presented as absolutely key. The tools have to interact seamlessly for that fairness aspect to be enforced and for the automation to supposedly generate wealth for the participants in the intended way.
Okay. Let's unpack that connectivity claim then. If it's a living network, this claimed digital empire, we need the specifics. What are the actual components, the tools that make up this tech architecture? What are the things that supposedly drive the usage and the revenue needed to sustain this victory?
Right. So the sources detail four main components. And the key, as we were just saying, is to see them not as separate apps you might download, but as elements designed from the ground up to work together.
Creating a kind of digital environment where people can do everything they need to do within the system.
That's the idea, a complete ecosystem.
Okay, let's start with the first one they mentioned, O-Connect. What is that?
So O-Connect is described as, well, more than just another video meeting tool like Zoom or Teams. The sources position it as their own proprietary communication solution.
Proprietary how? What's different?
It's claimed to be optimized for global performance, low latency, making video calls smoother, especially across long distances or in areas with maybe less robust internet.
Okay, and they give an example, right?
They do. The anecdote provided is about a teacher in India running virtual classes seamlessly. This grounds the concept in actual utility, suggesting its value lies in education, professional communication, particularly where competitors might struggle with quality or accessibility, maybe due to cost or technical limitations.
And that claimed technical edge is important, isn't it, for our listeners who know this space?
It is. The sources hint at things like proprietary video encoding, maybe specific AI features built right in like automatic transcription, or even real-time language translation.
Okay. So that's the mechanism for that truly borderless interaction they talk about. Enabling that teacher in India to connect globally without massive costs or language getting in the way.
That appears to be the claim, yes. Lowering barriers through technology.
Okay, so communication covered. But where people communicate, especially for business or education, money usually needs to change hands, right? Which leads us to the financial backbone, O-Wallet.
Right. O-Wallet is presented as absolutely central to the whole financial structure. It's designed, they say, to manage all the payments both coming into and going out of the ecosystem.
And its main function is?
Its primary claimed function seems to be cutting through the usual red tape you get with international payments, making things faster, simpler.
Right.
The sources really emphasize its role in making sure commissions, earnings, whatever money flows through the system are not only transparent and fast, but also governed by that enforced fairness we talked about.
How? Is it like smart contracts or something?
They suggest automated processes, maybe blockchain or similar tech, but the specifics aren't fully detailed. The key takeaway is that it's presented as the rapid circulatory system for the financial rewards supposedly generated by people actually using the ecosystem's tools.
Got it. The money flows fast and fair because the tech manages it. But in this digital age, speed and transparency, they're kind of useless without security and, crucially, compliance, right?
Absolutely critical. Which brings us to the third piece, O-Verify.
Okay, what's O-Verify's job?
O-Verify is defined as being essential for robust KYC, know your customer compliance, and general security protocols.
So making sure everyone is who they say they are, basically.
Exactly. It's claimed to implement things like multi-factor authentication, thorough identity verification systems, all designed, they say, to tackle this age of data misuse. The goal is securing participant data while also ensuring everything is above board, legally speaking.
So if the big promise is building trust, O-Verify is the specific tech answer to that promise. It's meant to guarantee everyone involved is legitimate and the whole operation is compliant.
That's how it's positioned, yes. The trust anchor, technologically speaking, aiming to assure regulators and users that it's secure and legitimate.
Okay, communication, finance, verification. What's the last piece? You mentioned 4.
The fourth is O-Shop. This is the platform for, well, commerce, commercial outreach, wealth generation.
Yeah.
It ties the other tools into global economic activity.
How does it work?
O-Shop is defined as an opportunity for businesses, maybe even individuals, to expand their reach. Borderless commerce, essentially.
And the anecdote here.
The one we have is about a business in Canada using O-Shop to expand globally. It highlights the claimed utility of integrating things like inventory management, payment processing, presumably through O-Wallet.
And communication, maybe for customer service via O-Connect.
Exactly. All into a single commercial platform. The sources claim it provides a kind of automated pathway for small or medium businesses to go international without needing, massive upfront investment in infrastructure or separate tools.
Right. It bundles everything needed. Okay, this naturally leads us to the operational claim, doesn't it? The one that directly tackles that historical skepticism we discussed earlier.
Yes, the big one.
If this system is genuinely different, a real solution, it has to explain how it keeps running without just relying on constantly signing up new people.
And this is really the absolute crux of their claimed disruptive model. The sources are adamant, really emphatic, that the ecosystem does not rely on continuous, endless recruitment.
Which they identify as the failure point of those older structures.
Precisely. Instead, the claim is it's sustained entirely by real products, real customers, and real usage. Full stop.
So the utility is the fuel. The teacher using O-Connect provides value. The Canadian business using O-Shop provides value. That usage generates real revenue, which then gets distributed through O-Wallet.
That's the core loop they describe. The intrinsic value of the tools themselves supposedly drives the engine. And this, the sources claim, makes financial freedom the natural outcome. Not a maybe, but a natural result for those founders who got in early and stuck with it.
Okay, so it's a self-sustaining loop, allegedly. And that's where O-Wallet and O-Verify become absolutely critical together, isn't it?
Exactly. O-Wallet ensures the speed and the equity of that revenue distribution, making sure the money flows as promised. And O-Verify guarantees that the whole potentially very high-speed operation stays compliant and secure.
Adding that layer of structural certainty, it seems designed specifically to counter those doubts about legitimacy and regulatory risk, doesn't it?
It certainly appears that way. It's a compelling claim, isn't it? Building a foundation of certainty where the fairness mechanism is supposedly automated, baked right into the tech stack itself. If the products are truly valuable and people use them, the system allegedly just sustains itself.
Okay, so we've got the tools, the claimed self-sustaining loop. Now let's talk about the people. Specifically, those individuals who believed early on, the initial participants known as founders. They're crucial to this whole narrative, aren't they?
Absolutely crucial. The sources spend quite a bit of time detailing their evolution, their transformation into a new kind of elevated status, the most valued customer, or MVC.
MVC, okay.
And this identity shift, it's presented as central to the whole post-victory structure, how the system is designed to operate now that victory has been declared.
I find that transition fascinating. From founder, which implies building something, to most valued customer, which implies being served, being the top-tier consumer.
It is an interesting rhetorical move, isn't it?
Yeah, it simultaneously acknowledges their early role, their founding contribution, while repositioning them as the primary beneficiaries, the highest priority users of the system's output. The sources state pretty clearly, this victory belongs to these MVCs who persevered through the tough times.
And this new identity, this MVC status, it supposedly comes with very specific, very high status, and importantly, long-term benefits. These are detailed quite clearly in the source material, so we should probably analyze the practical implications. There seem to be three core rewards.
Okay, what's the first one?
First, they're established unequivocally as the first beneficiaries, meaning they get priority access to the revenue streams generated by the platform's actual product usage. That's the immediate, tangible reward for their early commitment and patience.
Right, first in line for the payouts from O-Wallet, essentially.
That's the implication. Second, and this one really speaks to the system's claimed longevity, they hold permanent seats in the ecosystem.
Permanent seats. That's a really powerful phrase, isn't it? It suggests guaranteed participation, long-term security. But what does a permanent seat actually mean in practice within this claimed autonomous framework? Is it like a share or a lifetime membership?
That's a great question. Analyzing the source material, a permanent seat seems to imply that their status, and by extension, their claim on the system's financial output, is somehow locked in.
Okay, we heard financial stability implied by the permanent seat. What does priority access mean here? Access to what?
Well, priority access, in practical terms, likely means things like getting early access to new products or features before the general public, maybe getting dedicated top-tier customer support, and perhaps most importantly, priority allocation of new customer usage flowing into the system. If the system automatically assigns customers or usage, MVCs might be at the front of the queue.
Ah, I see. So it actively links their perseverance during the hard times, the struggle phase, to a privileged, secure, and potentially continually growing position within this declared victory system.
That's exactly how it's framed. Their past actions secure their future benefits.
So the claim then is that these founders, now MVCs, they're not just external investors watching from the sidelines or passive supporters anymore.
Not at all. The sources explicitly state that through this hashtag victory with Ashmufare moment, they are redefined as co-pilots of the future. Yeah, it elevates their role beyond just participating or benefiting. It suggests active stewardship, having a hand in guiding the system's ongoing legacy.
That idea of stewardship, it connects directly to keeping the momentum going, doesn't it? This isn't just about sitting back and collecting reward.
Precisely. And this is crystallized in something the sources call the call to rise, reset, refocus. It's presented as an active mandate, a kind of job description for these newly crowned MVCs.
Okay, so it's not just about getting benefits. It's about adopting a functional role that actually helps perpetuate the ecosystem. Let's break down those three actions: rise, reset, refocus. What do they mean?
Okay, so first, rise. They are basically mandated, encouraged to step into leadership roles to become more visible. The MVCs are expected to be the public examples, the living proof points of the system's success. Share their stories, perhaps.
Be the testimonials, effectively.
In a sense, yes. Second, reset. This seems to be more of a psychological component. They're told they must deliberately leave behind any old doubts, any lingering skepticism. Forget the memory of those broken predecessor models we talked about. Let go of any limiting beliefs they might have picked up during the earlier uncertain phases.
Right. Embrace the victory mentally as well as financially.
Exactly. And finally, refocus. This is about channeling their newfound energy, maybe their financial stability, into the system's broader, outward-facing goals.
Which are?
Serving others within the ecosystem, sharing the opportunity or the tools, and generally sustaining the whole thing. Their own success, by definition, must be used to validate and promote the system to others, build the community.
So the message is quite powerful then. The MVC status isn't just a reward tier. It comes with responsibilities. It's the core mechanism for distributing the wealth, yes, but it simultaneously tasks the beneficiaries with building trust, being visible advocates, and ultimately contributing to the system's long-term legacy.
Well put. They are positioned as the self-appointed, or maybe system-appointed, custodians of this claimed victory. Their role is ongoing.
Okay, so we've looked inside the engine, we've looked at the drivers, the MVCs. Now let's look outward. At the external claims, the asserted impact on the world stage. Because the sources claim that this on-passive ecosystem, it's doing nothing less than resetting global standards for ethical technology.
Yeah, this is where the ambition really scales up, isn't it?
It really does. This is where the system tries to define itself not just as a business, but as a solution to, well, global structural problems.
And that makes sense within the narrative, right? For the ecosystem to be truly validated as a victory system, it has to offer some kind of tangible answer to the perceived failures, the systemic issues of the established digital world.
Otherwise, it's just another tech company.
Exactly. So the source material lays out 3 key ethical benchmarks that they claim OnPassive is specifically addressing, positioning themselves as the necessary antidote to current market problems.
Okay, what's the first benchmark?
The first one is data trust. This is a big one today, obviously. They explicitly contrast the current environment, rampant data misuse, exploitation by giant tech companies with OnPassive's claimed commitment to building trust.
And how do they claim to build that trust? Is it just promises?
Well, they specifically point to O-Verifier, which we discussed earlier. The claim is that robust security, user privacy, and regulatory compliance are foundational, built-in features, maybe even proprietary advantages, rather than, an afterthought or something forced on them by regulators.
Okay, so trust through verifiable security and compliance. What's the second benchmark?
The second is affordability. They position the ecosystem directly against what they describe as a market full of overpriced digital tools. Tools that, because of their cost, limit access, especially for people or businesses in less wealthy regions.
Right, the digital divide issue.
Exactly. So by offering affordable AI solutions, they claim they're democratizing technology, making high-end capabilities accessible across different economic geographies, leveling the playing field somewhat.
Okay, trust and affordability. What's the third?
The third benchmark is inequality. This is maybe the broadest claim. They assert a really profound goal, ensuring no one gets left behind in a world that's increasingly split, bifurcated, by that digital divide and by economic disparity in general.
Wow, that's a huge ambition.
It is. And the ultimate conclusion the sources draw from these 3 points is that the ecosystem isn't just aiming to be a profitable tech venture. It's claimed to be, and this is a direct quote, a benchmark for digital fairness and economic equity, a new standard for others to follow.
Okay, those are incredibly bold claims. Resetting global standards for trust, affordability, equality, that requires serious real-world validation, doesn't it? You can't just state that.
Absolutely, which is precisely why the sources provide what they call the human face of victory, these specific, quite detailed anecdotes that are designed to demonstrate this global ripple effect in action.
The stories. These serve as the tangible proof points for those big, abstract claims about fairness and equity.
Exactly. They're meant to show it's not just theory. It's happening on the ground. And we should probably look at the significance of the 3 main examples provided in the source material. They seem deliberately chosen to cover different continents, different situations, demonstrating a kind of universal applicability.
Right. So the first one is set in Kenya, correct?
Yes. The sources claim there's a founder there who is now paying for their children's school fees directly from earnings received in their O-wallet.
That's a powerful image.
It really is, because it directly links the system's financial architecture, the O-wallet payouts, to immediate, tangible community upliftment, to restoring educational opportunity, which is such a fundamental socioeconomic need, especially in many parts of the world. It makes the digital earnings feel incredibly relevant to real-world, high-stakes necessities.
Okay, so grounding the digital in the physical needs of a family. What's the second story?
The second one takes us back to that teacher in India, the one running virtual classes seamlessly using O-Connect.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this isn't just about, the video calls work well. It's meant to demonstrate how the affordable, supposedly low-latency tools allow critical services like education, maybe professional training, to continue and even expand in regions where perhaps the high infrastructure costs or subscription fees of premium competitors would normally be a major barrier.
So, overcoming infrastructure limitations, expanding access to services. Got it. And the third example?
The third is the business in Canada, the one using OShop to expand its operations globally.
Okay, so this one focuses more on the commercial, the business side.
Exactly. It illustrates the platform's claimed scale and utility for economic expansion across borders. It demonstrates that the system isn't just designed for individual users or founders getting payouts, but also for established businesses that want to tap into international markets, supposedly using these integrated tools without massive complexity or cost.
So Kenya, India, Canada, individual needs, educational services, business growth. These stories together, they paint a picture of truly borderless impact, don't they?
That's clearly the intention. The sources assert that every participant, from the top-tier MVC down to the end customer using a tool, is contributing to this global victory movement.
And this movement supposedly yields specific positive effects.
Yes, the sources list them. Economies are uplifted, communities are empowered, and crucially, trust in digital platforms is allegedly being restored, specifically through those verified processes like O-Verify.
The rhetoric really ramps up here, doesn't it? It moves beyond just describing a successful tech ecosystem.
It definitely does. It culminates in this really grand assertion. This is not just OnPass's victory, it is humanity's.
Wow.
Yeah, it reframes the whole thing. It's no longer just a private company's success story. It's presented as the framework for a global, almost humanitarian revolution, driven by this concept of automated fairness through technology.
Okay, so we've traced the narrative arc. From the initial skepticism, through the claimed proof leading to declared victory, delving into the architecture of the tools like OConnect and OWallet, and looking at the elevated role of the MVCs. Now, the source material kind of brings all this together to a culmination point.
Right. It defines the outcome, the overall achievement, as something more than just, a successful business launch. It's framed as a revolution. And this revolution is characterized by specific gifts.
Gifts. To whom?
Well, these gifts essentially identify the 4 distinct beneficiaries of this whole enterprise. They act as a kind of definitive summary of the ecosystem's ultimate purpose and its intended legacy.
Okay, let's break them down. Who are the 4 beneficiaries? What are the gifts?
So first, the overarching victory, the existence of the system itself, is identified as Ash's gift to the world. The successful realization of that core vision we talked about at the start, building a fair, autonomous digital system for everyone.
Okay, the visionary's gift. Who's second?
Second, it's framed explicitly as the founder's reward for patience. This directly validates their initial struggle, their overcoming of doubts. The reward is the MVC status, the permanent seat, the financial stability, the priority access, all that long-term security we discussed.
Right, the payoff for the early believers. Third,
it's positioned as the customer's gateway to fairness. This fulfills that promise of providing affordable, powerful, and crucially trustworthy technology. Technology that actively challenges the status quo of, say, data exploitation or prohibitive costs that lock people out.
So, a better deal for the end user. And the fourth gift.
The fourth one is perhaps the most ambitious. It's presented as the planet's new standard for ethical technology. This positions the entire OnPassive system as the global benchmark, the example others should strive for, particularly regarding data trust and the correction of economic inequality through accessible tech.
The gift of a new ethical standard. Okay, so visionary, founders, customers, and the world planet. Those are the 4 beneficiaries.
That's how the sources lay it out, yes.
And the sources, they consistently seem to tie this whole outcome back to those 3 pillars you mentioned earlier, the ones reiterated throughout the material.
Exactly. Build wealth, build trust, and build a legacy. It's presented as a self-reinforcing cycle, or maybe a mandate. Success isn't just about profit. It demands perpetual responsibility. Adherence to those claimed standards of fairness and trust is necessary to maintain the legacy.
It makes sense within their narrative structure.
And the narrative, it finally closes with this really powerful, unifying statement. It's clearly designed to galvanize the community, to solidify their sense of collective achievement. It asserts, quite simply, this is our time. This is our victory. This is #victory with Ashmufara.
The final declaration.
Pretty much. It functions as the ultimate statement that the movement has arrived, it's real, and this is the beginning of its asserted enduring era. #outro.
Well, this has certainly been a deep dive into the claimed architecture, the narrative, and the asserted impact of an autonomous framework that, as we've heard, states it has achieved victory over those legacy digital models.
A lot to unpack there.
Definitely. So just to recap the key takeaways for you, the listener, hoping to integrate this. We defined the system, as presented in the sources, by its integrated O products, OConnect for communication, OWallet for finance, O-Verify for trust and compliance, and O-Shop for commerce. We analyzed the claims about their proprietary features and how they're meant to function as a single self-sustaining network.
And we detailed that significant evolution of the original founder into the high-status, most valued customer, the MVC. We examined the structural implications of their supposedly guaranteed permanent seats and priority access. And importantly, how that status is also tied to responsibilities, maintaining the system's momentum and its public visibility through that rise, reset, refocuses call.
Right. And finally, we analyzed those really bold claims about resetting global standards for fairness. specifically tackling issues like data misuse and economic inequality. We saw how those claims are validated within the source material by those specific global anecdotes, Kenya, India, Canada, designed to prove real-world impact, empowering individuals, services, and businesses across continents. The entire focus, as defined by the sources we looked at, is on this paradigm shift, away from old models towards utility, towards autonomous fairness, and towards long-term, verifiable trust.
It's definitely a profound